It's time for the Lowell Green Show, originating live on blasttheradio.com. Ask your smart speaker to play Blast the Radio. Live video available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. The number to call or text is 613-413-2217. And now, telling it like it is, here's Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. Man, oh man. What a bunch of sweethearts in the Green Party. I thought members of the Green Party were nice people. I thought they were the ones that only wanted to defend the environment and look after homeless people and all the rest of it. They sound kind of nasty to me. I don't know if you get the same feeling, but man, oh man, they're kind of stinky. I'm not suggesting them all, but some of the things that are happening are, I don't know, not very nice. Trying to turf their leader, who is a black Jewish woman, because she doesn't agree with anti-Semite comments. Wow. What a reason to get turfed. You don't agree with anti-Semitic comments, so you lose your job as head of a party? Oy, 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 oy. That's some party, right? You know the story. Jenica Atwin, oh, what a sweetheart she is, leaves the Green Party to join the Liberals, where she says she knows that she will not be alone in calling Israel an apartheid state. Ooh. I don't know if you realize that calling Israel apartheid state is a condemnation of the entire Jewish people. And I mean, it's a total, absolute lie. There are a good many Arabs who live in Israel, work there in many cases. They have all the same rights and privileges as Jewish citizens. There's no apartheid state. So to call Israel apartheid state is an insult, not just to the state, not just to the government. It's an insult for all of the people. And that's the point that seems to be missing in some of this. You know, the leader of the Green Party, Annemie Paul, says she blames both sides for the recent attacks, Hamas launching some 4,000 rockets into Israel, Israel responding with bombing, etc. She calls on both sides to bring peace. But apparently in the Green Party, that's a no-no. Oh no, in the Green Party, apparently you must blame it all on Israel. Israel, the apartheid state. It's all Israel's fault. They're the only ones abusing civilians, etc., etc. Hamas, doesn't matter. Hamas, an illegal organization, a terrorist organization, declared so by many governments, including the Canadian government. Doesn't matter that Hamas fires 4,000 rockets into Israel. Oh no, it's Israel's fault. It's as I say, and it's not just a few directors of the Green Party that are after her, okay? First of all, we've got to deal with the fact that voters elected Jenica Atwin, knowing damned well her position on Israel and its Jewish citizens. I don't understand how nice people can vote for someone who very clearly is anti-Semitic. Wow, I mean, is this the Green Party? Well, in the case of electing Jenica Atwin, yeah, that's right, that's the Green Party. They knew full well her position on Israel. She's been very, very open. I mean, not only calling Israel an apartheid state, but backing the boycott Israeli products, which is a boycott of products made by Israeli, mostly Jewish citizens. She's been, spearheading that campaign, etc. So very clearly, here is a woman. You may disagree that she's anti-Semitic, but I'm going to tell you, when you take into account all of the comments she's made about Israel, because you see, this is something else that some people seem to forget. She doesn't identify the Israeli government. She doesn't say, the Israeli prime minister. She says Israel. Well, Israel is the people. So if Israel is an apartheid state, if Israel is killing innocent civilians in the Gaza Strip. That means that the ordinary citizens, Israel are the people. Canada is the people. Canada is not the government. Government represents the people. And so I'm having a lot of difficulty with this. And then, of course, we got a large contingent of the directors of the Green Party who want Annamie Paul gone as their leader, very clearly not supporting her idea of holding both sides in this conflict responsible for bringing peace. It would seem to me that if anybody has got some common sense here and appears to be a really nice person, it would be Annamie Paul. She says no, she's not going to blame either side. She says both sides, it's up to both sides to bring peace, and she hopes for peace. That's what she wants. And somehow or other, in the Green Party, this is a very controversial statement. In the Green Party, you've got to condemn Israel, call it an apartheid state, call for boycott of Israeli products, et cetera, or you're not wanted as the leader. It sure as hell is not a ringing endorsement of either the Green Party or those who support it. Sorry. Now, some of you may say, well, what does it matter? It's a minor party. They only got 2 members left in the House. I want to remind you of something. By and large, not exclusively, excuse me, but by and large, it is members of the Green Party who are leading the environmental movement in this country. By and large, it is members of the Green Party and their supporters who have caused pipelines to be halted, thrown more than 100,000 people out of work in Alberta, destroyed the economy of not 1 but 2 provinces. It's largely Green Party. The so-called environmentalists. It's the same environmentalists, the Green Party, that was responsible for spearheading the construction of windmills and solar panels throughout the country, but particularly in Ontario. We now know that some $25 billion was spent in Ontario on windmills and solar panels, which produce usually less than 5% of the power. And this was all spearheaded by members and supporters of the Green Party. So they may only have 2 members in the House of Commons, that's true, but they have a disproportionate amount of power. In fact, you could say that virtually the entire country is being run along the lines of environmental policy. Almost everything we do, the carbon tax, I could go on and on and on, relates to the environmental policy, which for the most part is spearheaded by supporters of the Green Party. The Green Party are the ones out protesting. They caused the cancellation of Energy East, et cetera, et cetera. So now we're finding out that, well, at least some of these members of the Green Party aren't really all that nice. They want to get rid of a woman who blames both sides for the conflict in the Middle East and wants peace. Many support, and by the way, you can say, oh well, that's not the Green Party supporters. Well, wait a minute. Where is the flood of protests? Everybody knows that Annamie Paul will probably lose her job. I don't see any petitions being started for her to keep the job from the Green Party supporters. I don't see a rush to defend her from anybody. So where are all of these nice people? You're dictating to us environmental policy. You are deciding that we'll spend billions of dollars on windmills rather than buying homes or building homes for the homeless or fixing the problem in our long-term care. You're the ones who are pushing us into doing all of this. And where are you supporting a woman who just wants peace in the Middle East? I don't see the support out there. If you do, I'd sure like to hear from you. John, we got any comments coming in as yet?
Yeah, a couple comments. I've got a question, though. How does a party, if it's only got 2 members, how does it have that kind of influence?
Well, because we see this, excuse me, my voice is giving out. We see this disproportionate amount of power in many fields. For example, let me give you another example. The Ottawa Public School Board has decided to remove all police from classrooms.
Right.
Why? Because a tiny handful of people say, well, the police are scaring my kids. This is a tiny, and in most cases, it's minorities who say their children don't understand police. So they go in, it's the squeaky wheel. And very clearly, the environmental movement has got the squeaky wheel. And And I mean, we even see it now. We even see it in the launching of Bill C-10. I mean, who is behind Bill C-10? This guy's a former head of the Greenpeace, for God's sake. So it's a very good question. How can they have this kind of power? Well, the reason they have this kind of power is because we give it to them. They're a tiny minority, small minority, and in most cases, as we are seeing, they're not very nice people. They claim they have the best interest of the country at stake, at heart. Well, maybe in their minds, but very clearly, if you drive 100,000 people out of work, you spend billions of dollars on windmills rather than fixing long-term care. Doesn't sound to me like you got the best interest of the country at heart. So if you've got any thoughts in any of that, I have several other topics here, but I'd like to. I am really disappointed and surprised. I actually maybe not that surprised. This after all is the far left in full bloom. What we are seeing now, the destruction of the Green Party, is the far left in full bloom. Okay, this is the way they operate. It's very disturbing, and as I say, very disturbing to think of the kind of power that they are wielding and continue to wield in this country. I mean, have you any idea how many hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent on the environmental movement? The carbon tax is another example. Yes, text. Go ahead, please, John.
So not indifferent to back in our radio days that one listener would write in and change an entire radio station's format, right?
Oh, yeah. And in fact, one listener will get you fired.
Yes.
Yeah, that's disproportionate amount of power.
All right.
They know it. They know it.
Oh, they do. Oh, and it's amazing. Their kid is always in the car and heard this atrocious thing that was said. Anyway, I digress. The phone number here is 613-413-2217. You can follow Lowell on Facebook. We're on Twitch as well. If you go to blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green, all your links are there. Some of the comments on this, Lowell, from Maggie, she says, some of this sounds like the Nazis all over again. Peter says, I'd say the Green Party is dead at the moment. Too much infighting, just like Trudeau wants. Arthur weighs in. He says, if the Green Party disappeared, the environmentalists would just go to the Liberals or NDP. Nothing would change. And Dean says, yet one more story where everything is either racist or sexist. These buzzwords are being used so often lately, they're losing their significance.
Yeah, some truth to that. And there's also truth to the fact that if the Green Party dissolves, that the people will find, a home someplace else. But the fact of the matter is that the most radical of the environmentalists very clearly have coalesced around the Green Party. That's the raison d'etre of the Green Party, the environmental movement. And whether they are in the Green Party or elsewhere, the fact is that they hold a disproportionate amount of power. I mean, these are the people who have convinced us that if we don't pretty well shut down all industry and agriculture in this country, the planet's going to burn up in about 10 years. So, and it is 10 years now. 2 years ago, it was 12 years. So that's one of the reasons why I find this very disconcerting. So far from finding really nice people out there who are just maybe a little bit misled, maybe just misunderstood a little bit. In many cases, very clearly, these far left people are not very nice people. They're nasty people. What they're doing to their leader is just damn right nasty. I'll tell you what is not nasty, okay? The kind of bargains that you're going to find right now at Shields in Pakenham. They've struck a special, it's their 75th anniversary at Shields, believe it or not. They've been in business since 1947, maybe 46, because 75 indicates 46 to me. But anyway, they have struck a special deal with Frigidaire. If you go to shields.ca, you'll see some tremendous bargains. Sale prices on Frigidaire products. You can save up to $1,200 buying Frigidaire products. Not only that, as I have announced in the last couple of days, they've got a new program now, and you'll see this on the website as well, whereby you can, at the same time you order your appliance, you may be able to order installation at the same time by the same people. In other words, the delivery group, particularly with dishwashers, they will come, they will deliver, and they will install at the same time. You have the choice. It's all there. You can pick and choose on the website. Folks, it's a great company to deal with. More and more people are finding this out. More and more people are coming into Shields and saying, hey, Lowell sent me, and I'm really glad that he did. So I'm glad to hear that as well. Save money. And I guess the number one reason is In almost every case, they've got exactly what you need in stock. No long delay, and you can save a pile of money. Shields.ca. John, we got some more text coming in there.
All is quiet on the Green Party front, sir.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. All right, on another topic. I am joining the growing chorus in this province to ask Doug Ford to open things up more. Start stage 2 or some variant of it. The numbers are plunging. I mean, it's quite astonishing to see the way the numbers are dropping. Not only the infection numbers, new infections dropping way off, but hospital admissions dropping off, death rate dropping way off. Now, there's no question we've got to continue to be very, very careful. But we have, obviously, most of us have behaved. Doug, we've done exactly what you and your health authorities told us to do. We've been wearing a mask. We've been keeping our distance. Our businesses have been shut down. We haven't been visiting loved ones, relatives, and so forth. We have done what we are supposed to do, and it is paying off. It's worked. So give us a payoff. There's no reason why I can't, for example, go to the keg on a rainy Friday night inside and have dinner. No reason I can't go to Fratelli on any night and go inside. The restaurants know how to do it. They've been doing it all along. They've spaced their tables, et cetera, et cetera. Their staff is very well trained. I watched them we went to Kelsey's patio the other day, and it was amazing. There was one person there, and that's her sole job. As soon as people get up and leave, she's there. She's got the disinfectant. She's wiping everything off, even wiping off like the salt and pepper shakers and things like. These restaurants know how to do it. Open them up. There's no reason not to. Come on, time. Open up the gyms. You know, before the lockdown, the gyms in the most cases, having trouble speaking here. Most cases, they were doing it right. Their people were they were only allowing a certain number of people into a huge room. My wife was going all of the time. Huge room, she said, would hold about 50 people, and all they would do, they would allow 10 people in there. Well, I mean, why would you shut something like that? But you did, okay. And whether you agree or not, it worked. But time to open up now. And by the way, time for people to allow to get their hair done. Come on. Open the hair salons. There's no reason why I can't go and get a haircut at a barber shop. They know how to do it. They were doing it before they behaved. We've done our share. Doug Ford, we've supported you till now. Time to do your share. Open things up. Julie is on the air. Yes, Julie.
Hi, Lowell. I agree
ma'am.
with you 110%. We need to open Ontario back up. This has gone on way too long. We've done our part. We've been home. We've been grounded for, 14 months now. I think it's time that we should be able to go get a haircut, be able to open up, again, fitness studios. I work at a dance studio, and we've been closed, and those kids are suffering. They message me, and they're like, hey, I need this back in my life. And I'm like, sorry, we can't open. And we were doing everything right, and we had no cases, but they shut us down, and it was heartbreaking, and it's heartbreaking still to see these kids wanting to come and be athletic and go to competition, but all of it's shut down, and we can't even get together.
There's no question it was tough medicine, but at least the medicine worked. I did check back. Do you realize that only 2 months ago, we were getting, there was a peak, I think, of about 4,800 new cases in one day in Ontario. Our hospitals were jammed. So the lockdown, a lot of people disagree, but whether you disagree or not, it worked. Now we're down, apparently, the latest is what, John? About 300 new cases in Ontario?
That's about it.
From 4,800 to 300. And yeah, it's been tough medicine. Okay, time for us to get our rewards. We've paid the price. Now open things up. It's worked. Open things up. Couldn't agree with you more, Julie.
Yes,
let me ask
I
you
agree with you.
Let me ask you one other question. This is my final topic here. Do you think a little bit? I'm not talking about you necessarily, but from what you can sense, do you feel a little bit of the glow is coming off Justin Trudeau?
Yeah, a little bit. Like something's been lifted off his shoulder, maybe another scandal or something like that. Not my favorite.
No, that's
person.
not what I meant. I lived through. Did you live through the Pierre Trudeau mania?
Yeah, oh yeah, I did.
I am beginning to sense, because I can remember when Trudeau mania began to fade, and I am beginning to sense that there is at least the beginning of a fading of Trudeau mania part 2. I'm going to see if anybody else feels that. Julie, thank you. I'm going to add your voice. We'll be talking with Doug Ford's office again today, and I'm going to convey him your sentiments and the sentiments I know of many others. Open her up, guys. Open her up. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Now, yeah, in this regard, can you feel a slight shift in the breeze? Not talking about the weather, talking about support for Justin Trudeau. I could be wrong, but I'm beginning to see a slight shift in the attitudes of much of the mainstream media. Reporters and commentators who in the past have fawned all over this guy, doing a little bit less fawning. Even heard some almost semi-critical comments on the CBC the other day. And you know, when you start getting critical comments on the CBC, that something is changing, all right? As I told Julie, I can recall the days of Pierre Trudeau and Trudeau mania. I got caught up in it. I mean, I decided I was going to run for Pierre Trudeau, and it was true. Everybody this was this great new, he's the Messiah. Whole new we were so proud of this guy. He was so cool, so cool, so cool. And, his clothes and demeanor and all his different mistresses and girlfriends, etc. He was cool. But after a while, the coolness began to cool down. And I'm just wondering if you think that that's beginning with his son, Justin Trudeau. I'm even hearing some criticism from women. Pretty hard for a lot of women to be critical of Justin Trudeau. They find him pretty attractive, I guess, kind of sexy and cool. But I'm beginning to hear, in fact, a couple of female friends who in the past, well, they didn't want to come right out and say it, I know supported him, are less complimentary now. So I'm wondering if there is a beginning of a switch here. I don't see much growing support for Aaron O'Toole, but on the other hand, I don't see his support slipping. So at least there's that. And I'm not sure if support for Trudeau is really slipping all that much, or even at all. But what I am saying is I'm just beginning to sense a shift in attitudes here. And I'm just wondering if you see it as well. Has the bloom come off his colorful socks? Is his beautiful hair losing some of its appeal? Are people finally getting a little tired of his wrinkled eye smile? Is Trudeau mania finally beginning to fade away? John, text over to you.
Here's a question. Well, okay, let me just chime in with this. So we were talking about the Green Party and how the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yes.
All these Trudeau haters that you see on social media, are they finally getting a little grease, maybe? Are they starting to have that influence? I don't know. Certainly seems from the comments we're getting right now that people hope so. I hope JT's popularity is fading. I even am hearing questioning of him from my millennial nephew. That's a texter at 613-413-2217. Regarding opening Ontario, Peter says, yes, the ending does more preventative measures than Walmart, etc., but they don't have the same big lobbyists. One barber in town is doing his work outside behind his shop. Medical chief of health for here says it's fine to do. Randy says, I agree that we need to open up more, but I still have reservations about the gyms in inside restaurants. Last time when restaurants opened up inside, we observed while picking up a takeout order, a few places not properly spacing out their tables. That was disappointing and upsetting.
Can I deal with that?
Of course.
I mean, there may have, I didn't see this, and we eat out, or we're eating out quite a bit. But I mean, if there's a restaurant or some other business not doing it right, then deal with them. But don't punish everybody for the ills of one or two. Because where I go, I see, I mean, we go to Fratelli, we go to the Keg, we go to the brew pub and so forth, the brew table, sorry. and these places, and they're doing everything. I mean, in the Brew Table, for example, which one of our favorite restaurants, they had in between table, not only just spacing the tables, but shields in between. So, okay, some people were not doing what they're supposed to, but go after them. But that's my point. If you find someone breaking the rules, attack them, but don't make everybody pay for it. Yes, John, more text.
Yeah, I agree with you. Most places I've been do it right. I mean, there's the occasional one, but by and large, I think the restaurant industry has really got this down. We can learn a lot from them. Peter says, Ford says his wife and daughters have been lobbying him hard on reopening personal services. Joshua says, tired of watching Americans have all the fun and open up smartly and safely. David, Chrissy, and Kathy are on board for hair salons to open. Thank you very much. Peter says an article by Post Media yesterday pointed out some of the gold has worn off of Trudeau. David says Trudeau mania is slowly getting pushed aside. And Mike says, how about stick to the plan and only open up when we reach herd immunity? Stop blaming Ford. We're just starting to get vaccines in now. We still only have 11% of the population vaccinated twice.
Yeah, there's no question that we've got to continue wearing the masks and so forth. The big problem, of course, is what we are finding out is that with this new variant, thank you very much, Justin Trudeau, which came in by airplane, the so-called Delta, which originated in India, that with most vaccines, they are only somewhere between between 30 and 40, sometimes 50% effective. At most, about 50% effective after one dose. We didn't know that before, but that's one of the reasons why the health authorities are still very, very concerned with this new variant, okay? With 2 shots, about 90% effective. So this was one of the things that we did because we didn't have nearly enough vaccines. We decided not to give the 2 shots. You know the story. So we're paying the price, still paying the price. But increasingly, we're getting more and more shots, the second shots into arms. But what I'm looking at are the numbers. The numbers are way down. We have paid a terrible price. People have lost their businesses, their homes, etc. The numbers, and it was intended to bring the numbers way down. Well, it's done that. So has the time come to open up at least somewhat? Still be careful. Get as many vaccines into arms as possible. Yes, absolutely. Actually, it's about 14 to 15% of the Canada's population now has the second shots. But I mean, we're still, 85% do not have full immunity. Any more text, John, or is that pretty?
No, but I mean, listen, if we were able to deal with 4,200 cases, as you said, and now we're under 400.
4,800, yeah.
That should be a walk in the park now. And I know our hospital workers are tired, and they deserve a little time off. Let's give them that right now. I mean, we can. Anyway, no, all is quiet on the Lowell Green front today, unfortunately, sir.
All right. Well, it's not quiet at Centennial Glass. They are busy. One of the reasons
I love your segues, Lowell. Jeez.
One of the reasons that anybody is busy is because they're doing a good job. If you don't do a good job, you're not going to be busy. Word gets around, particularly in a community in many ways, Ottawa's a big city, 1 million, but in many ways it's a small town. And if you don't do the job right, man, oh man, you don't last long. Well, Centennial Glass has lasted a long, long time, and they'll last a lot longer. The reason is they do good work, very, very fair prices. They're good people and very innovative, very creative there as well. They use only their own people. They don't farm a work out. They're very proud of what they do. No matter whether it's a major job, all the glass in a new hotel or a new restaurant, or just you need somebody threw a golf ball through your window out there on the Hunt Club course. They'll fix that for you, folks. Emergency service, absolutely. Centennial Glass. Yes, we have more texts coming in, John.
A couple of trickling in here at the last moment. Carrie says, Trudeau tweeted this today, quote, when elected, members of parliament dedicate themselves to you and your community. They represent you and your values. They speak as your voice, and they make sure you have what you need. To those who have served and are not seeking re-election, thank you for all you've done, end quote. She asks, someone planning an election? That's interesting.
Well, yeah, there's going to be an election in the fall. Maybe even before that, but in all probability in the fall, no question about it. All right. Well, listen, we're right. Oh, you have some more texts? Go
A
ahead.
couple more. Barry's upset I haven't read any of his texts. Barry, I'm doing the best I can, my man. He says, Lowell, I know from talking to people about Trudeau and the vaccine scandal that a lot of people are mad at him for that, and he might not get what he wants in an election. And finally, Joshua says, to the people saying stay closed, how many more businesses need to suffer?
Thank you very much. Thank you, folks. I hope next time we'll get some more text. The program exists so that it gives you a chance to have your say. And as I've said before, I know that they listen to this program. I'm not saying that Doug Ford listens, but someone from his office listens. They want to hear what you have to say. But if you're not saying anything, then they can't get a read on what you're feeling. You know, it's all very, people often say, well, they don't listen to me. Well, they can't listen if you don't speak up. Thank you all. We'll be back.
Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. Join us live, weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on blasttheradio.com.